So once you get to your campsite, you're going to want to, one of the first things we always do, even though we're tired, is we go ahead and set up our tents first. That way, if it happens to rain, we've got a place to duck into and stay dry. And trust me, there have been many times when we've just gotten our tents set up and it started to rain right after that. So that's what you're going to want to do first. Of course, the first thing is, location for the tent. Obviously, you're probably not going to be on a grassy yard. Typically it may be just on dirt. If you're lucky, there'll be some grass. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. You want to be somewhere as flat as possible. Think about, if the land sloped just a little bit, where your head's going to go, where your feet's going to go. We have had some nights where we've had kids kind of sliding down the tent throughout the night. We're kind of pulling them back up as we go. So, and of course, you want to watch for rocks and roots and things. So I think that's all pretty obvious. And if you're setting up multiple tents, just kind of think through, hey, where are we going to put our tents in relationship to each other? Now, so we're going to actually set up a tent for you here. There's 5 components to a tent. Now, you're going to have whatever tent you have, but I'm pretty sure they're all going to have the same components. Right here, you've got, well, this is actually the tent itself. You've got the rain fly that goes on top, and we always put the rain fly on. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later. You've got your footprint that you start with to go on the ground. You've got your poles that go with it that hold up and support the tent, and then you've got your different pegs that you're going to hold the tent down with. So anyway, those are kind of the 5 components of the tent. And so Seth's going to come out here now, and Seth, my son, who started hiking at 11 and now he's 16, and looking forward to hiking with him again. And we're going to actually set this tent up, hopefully. So, all right, let's go. And let me say this, we're going to fast forward here in a minute, but let me say that, this is about family time, doing things together. And so, setting up a tent is one of those things that we enjoy. Typically 2 kids sleep in a tent, and so we just say, hey, you guys go set up your own tent. So it's about learning new things and taking on responsibility. So that's a fun part for us of actually setting up the tent. So, all right. All right, so we're going to take a pause in the action here before we put on the rain fly and talk about what goes in your tent. And so, I mean, there's more that's going to go in there, but these are just 2 or 3 obvious things you want to put in your tent. I mean, you're going to have your sleeping bag. Well, actually, we need to do this first. So this is called a thermarest right here. Strongly suggest that you get something to actually put between you and the ground, because that ground is hard, and most people out there do sleep on some sort of, you can do just a foam pad. Of course, everything needs to be small. This is called a thermarest. This is what we use. And it actually self-inflates if you give it enough time. Just lay it down, it'll pretty well self-inflate. All right, so I'm just gonna, well, it's not fully inflated, but we'll just kind of lay that in there. Of course, you're doing it, typically gonna be a 2-person tent, or could potentially put 3 people in here. And then your sleeping bag. All right, so there. Now we'll move on, and we'll actually put the rain fly on. Okay, so now we've got the rain fly on. You can also, we have string in here and another tie. So If you want to do both ends, which we typically do, especially if we think it's going to rain, it also gives a little more air underneath it. Want to do that. I'll mention too, this is kind of your little vestibule under here, and typically at night we tuck our backpacks and our shoes up underneath here, so everything's kind of ideally out of the rain. And so that is how you set up your tent.